Okay, welcome everyone to the IMechE UAS Challenge 2026 welcome webinar. This is our first webinar of the competition cycle. So we will go through quite a lot of things today. We will go through the competition deliverable dates. We will go through insurance. We'll go through the mission. We'll go through the sponsors and mentorship. So please stay tuned. This webinar is recorded and it will be sent to all of the attendees and registrants. So please have a look out for that email. I'm going to hand over shortly to our chair, who will take us through the next steps. We've also got our head judge and some of our sponsors online here, who'll be ready to take any questions for you. If you put any questions you have into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, we'll be able to address them at the end of the webinar. There's also a closed caption button for anyone who may have any issues with hearing, or if you're struggling to follow along. There's also a reactions button, so you can press thumbs up, you can put balloons, anything like that. Just let us know that you're engaged and you're listening. Additionally, there's a chat button here. You can just type in the chat button where you're from. If you're from France, Thailand, India, China, you can put it in here and we'll engage with you there. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. I will hand over to Paul. Paul?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Paul Lloyd, so I'm the chair of the UAS Challenge. I just wanted to welcome you all to this welcome webinar. A few things to say, really. As Dominic's given you some of the rules of how you get your questions in. The first thing to say, these webinars, there's a lot of information you're going to hear over the next sort of half hour, 40 minutes or so. So the recording is really important to go back to. So please keep an eye on what's said, because there's a lot of information here. Most of it's still in the rules on the website. So again, you can find the information there. But if you have any further questions, as Dominic said, please put your questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer. And if we're unable to answer them now, here and now, we'll do our best. We'll come back to you with some answers accordingly. This is our 12th year of running the challenge, and it continues to grow from strength to strength. We've got the most amount of teams we've ever had from around the world, which looks shaping up already to be a fantastic opportunity for people to take the challenge and move this forward and come together. And we're all focused on the fly-off event that happens next summer, but I'm conscious there's a lot of work between now and then in terms of designing and ultimately building and then flying your UAS. So the team will cover that through detail. We'll also take the opportunity to do some digital stuff, so through the that side of the business as well. So please make sure you follow that detail. Okay, I'm going to hand over now, I think, to Dominic. You're going to carry on with some of the admin.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to take you through the welcome agenda for today. So we've done our welcome and our introductions. We're going to talk about the competition timeline, visa applications, transport and shipping, liability insurance, how to get in contact with us. Our sponsors and mentors are going to take you through what they can offer. Our steering committee will also take you through other bits that are optional for you. You'll also hear about the mission scenario, how we're going to do the judging, what the roles of the judges are, reminders of the deliverable timelines and the dates, the scoring and the awards, and just a run through of the Explain software, as well as having a sponsor presentation and a Q&A session. So here on this slide here are all the teams we have for this year. We have quite a lot. We've had 53 registrations this year. We've had 30 UK teams, 1 team from China, 2 from Hong Kong, 11 European teams, 2 Indian teams, 2 teams from Saudi Arabia, 1 from Thailand, and 4 from Turkey. So welcome everyone, and thank you for registration. Our head judge Lambert is going to take you through our competition timeline now. Lambert, over to you.
Thank you, Dominic, and hello everybody, and welcome also to this competition that looks as though it's going to be a really good one this year. I'll be going through this in a bit more detail later, but basically it's through the stages that we follow in industry in designing and going through to testing a new product. So a concept phase where you throw some ideas together of what you want to try and design, then a detailed design stage which you support with simulation and things, and move on to doing some subsystem testing into manufacture, the final testing of your vehicle before you go on to flight test. But I'll be going through this in a little bit more detail later on. So back to you, I think, Dominic.
Thank you, Lambert. So I'm going to take everyone through our transportation and shipping now. So we've partnered with RJJ Freight Limited, who does our shipping. So please make sure that you communicate with them. I will send them the information about all the teams that are requesting to get their items shipped over, and they will communicate with you, and you will liaise with them about how you get your items shipped to the UK. So please make sure that the deadline date you have shipped to the UK of your device is a couple of days before the actual event, and that will go to the BMFA site where we have the UAS challenge every year. So please have a good read of this, and it will take you through what you need and what kind of selections you need to do at immigration. The next bit you need to find out about is if you need a visa to enter the UK. So the links here are to the .gov.uk website. So all of this will be sent to you via email. It's already been sent in your welcome message that has a link to the visa. Check on the website for .gov.uk. It will also have the standards that you need to meet for visa application. The earliest you can apply for your visa is 3 months. So you want to start applying for your visa in the new year. The cost has gone up this year. It is now £127 per person. So please ensure that there is funding available for that in your budget. There's also on that website and in the links here, as well as on the website, it will have what you need to apply for a standard visa to enter the UK. Each team is required to get third-party insurance, either through university or your sponsoring entity. The BMFA are currently working on a third-party insurance option. So you guys will receive that in the coming weeks and months about how to apply for that, what it covers, and what you do. But the insurance you acquire must cover you for up to £10 million, again, through your university or through your sponsoring entity. And we will communicate the BMFA insurance in coming weeks. Next up, we're going to have Lambert, who's going to be talking about the mission scenario. Lambert, over to you.
Hello again. Unfortunately, Will is unable to join this webinar today, but I'll go through this for you. We've got a completely new mission this year. Last few years, we've been dropping objects. This year, we're going to be using water as our payload. And there's also new design requirements for the aircraft, and I will touch briefly on those a little bit later. But basically, you're asked to design an aircraft, a UAS, to do an agricultural mission using water as the material to demonstrate, and you will dispense that along a track as the main part of the mission. The next slide, please. And so the mission is not dissimilar in concept to what we've been used to over the last few years. You will be flying around a whole set of waypoints at BMFA Buckminster, and then you will come along and you will release water along a path between the points P1, P2, and P3 shown there. And so there are 3 missions we're going to ask you to do, and you do 1 mission per day. And so on the first day of flying, you will do a short mission, which is just a single rotation around the waypoints and the release of your payload, your water. On the second day, you will do a longer mission, which you will go round the course twice before delivering you will go around it once, deliver some water, go round it again without landing, go around it again and deliver some more water, and then come back to landing. And then on the third day, Chris, the flight safety officer, will do his manual handling assessment of your aircraft. And so you will each be getting 1 flight per day. There's no test flying at all this time. And so the short mission on day 1, the long mission on day 2, and the manual handling on day 3. And you can only do them in those orders. If you fail to be ready, say, on the first day, you will lose the opportunity to do the short mission. You can't move it to the next day. The next slide, please. Right. This release of the water, as I explained, is you can carry as much or as little as you like, but the idea is you need to be releasing this water in a steady stream between point P1 and P2, and you need to have stopped it streaming by the time you reach P3. So you can carry much or as little as you like, but if you look at the scores, you will see you can work out how much water you ought to be carrying to be able to make the maximum score. Now, this water has to be carried in a container, and you have to come to your aircraft on the flight line with this container with the water in, and then you need to load it from above onto the aircraft. The aircraft must be sat on the ground on its undercarriage. I mean, consider looking down at the silhouette of your aircraft. You must be able to come at it from above through that silhouette, not getting your hands within the rotation of any propellers, and somehow loading it into the aircraft. Where it's held in the aircraft is entirely up to you. But that's the way you must load your payload into the aircraft. Right, the next slide, please. So, I mean, just a reminder from Will here is make sure you're reading the latest copy of the rules. We're on version 2, which is on the website. So if you haven't looked at it recently, make sure you look at version 2 that's on the website, which clarifies 1 or 2 points that have been raised by you in questions that have come along. And if you have any questions about the rules or want to understand or clarify anything, do email us at the UAS judges at imeche.org email address. So don't be afraid to ask questions. We're here to help you. And then on to the next one, please. Well, this is my bit. So I will talk to you a bit about the judging of the competition and what the judges are here for. Primarily, obviously, to award scores. So we decide on who gets which award. But we're also here to help you. And we will try and give you constructive criticism and advice along the way and answer any questions you have. We want, as much as you do, to have a successful set of flying aircraft at the end. And so we'll give you advice. You don't have to take it, but we will look at your concept paper, your design and development spec, your simulations, etc., and come back with you with what we hope is constructive criticism. But from you, what we're looking for is a new innovative design of UAS. Don't try and use last year's design because it won't work for this year. There are quite a lot of changes to the requirement. And you must make sure you meet all the requirements of the rules. You have to go through them systematically and understand all those requirements. We also want you to follow the deliverable requirements. And so please deliver your what we've asked you to do on time. It will clearly help us because we're all volunteers and giving our own time for looking at this stuff, but also they're timed so that they're helpful to you in the process. And so if you don't deliver them on time, you won't get the feedback that might be helpful to you in a timely fashion. And then we want you to arrive at BMFA Buckminster with a fully tested and compliant UAS, which we're really keen to see flying successfully. Okay, the next one, please. So just going back in a bit more detail on the deliverable timeline. So in 9 days' time, you should be delivering to us your concept paper and then moving on into your detailed design of your UAS. And what we expect you to be doing is shortly after that, doing a preliminary design review to make sure that you really have taken on board all the requirements and your design is going to meet all that's required. You then go through that design process, and in parallel, and this is a difference from last year, we want to make sure that you're using your X-plane simulation to support your design and to validate your design. And then you will deliver to us in February a flight test report and the X-plane model that you have developed, and so that we can see that you've actually used that simulation in your design process. And then by the end of February, we expect you to have finished your detailed design, and at that point you will do a critical design review. And these design reviews are like gates. You shouldn't go through them until you've satisfied that review. And so in your critical design review, this is you then looking at your design in detail and all the requirements and ticking all the requirements off. And so then you're at a point where you can start manufacture. If you start manufacture without having done all these checks, you risk finding part of the way through manufacture, oh, I've forgotten something, having to go back, waste time and money in remanufacturing something. So you then go through a period of manufacture, doing some subsystem testing and full system ground testing. And once you've completed your full system ground testing, you hold a flight readiness review in which you look at your design, look at what you've produced, recheck that it meets all the requirements and that you have addressed the safety issues about where you're going to fly and any local legal requirements for doing that flight. And then we want to see you spend a significant amount of time doing some flight testing so that by the time you arrive at BMFA Buckminster, you can just go straight out to the flight line and fly your aircraft. And we have a formality of a Form 701 and your FRR test report that we need you to deliver 2 weeks before you arrive at Buckminster. So that's basically the deliverable timeline. And if we go to the next slide, please, Dominic, you'll see the dates. They're all in the rules, and your first deliverable is in 9 days' time on the 21st of November. So please make sure you upload your concept paper at that time. Now, don't worry if it's not all beautifully finished. We're not looking for detailed design here. We're looking for your concept. But describe it well enough so that we can understand it and give you some useful feedback on the design. And, if we think something doesn't look right, you'll never be able to get the center of gravity in the right position in that configuration. We'll tell you so, and which we will help save you going on into the design phase and finding you've made a mistake and having to waste time going back and redoing something. So all the dates are there, and so please make sure you deliver on time. The next one, please. So just a few pointers about a successful design. The really important thing about designing anything is you really have understood all the requirements at the beginning. And if you made sure you've really understood all of that and meeting everything that we've written in section T as being a requirement, and that you keep reviewing that as you carry on through your design, that's where you're going to have the most effect on having a suitable result. But do look at the requirements of the demonstration flights and the mission scoring in section F, because that will give you what you need to do in terms of performance. Section T tells you what it's got to look like and meet, and particularly to meet any legal requirements we have. But section F is where your performance works. And so you need to look at both of those and then follow the delivery schedule in section D. as I've already mentioned. And please don't copy from previous years or other design. Make this your own work. That's how you gain the value out of this. And it's much more fun thinking of your own ideas. And so don't copy other people's designs or things you see on the web. Start from first principles yourself and have some fun thinking of some really interesting ideas, really innovative ideas. Also think about safety in manufacturing and testing and flying your aircraft, because that's very important in the aerospace sector. Think about the environment. What are the materials you're using, for instance? And also you need to think about how you might go on to productionize that and support your UAS, because that's going to be part of your business presentation that you do at Buckminster. As I said before, if in doubt about anything, just please ask. But when contacting us on the judge's email address or delivering documents, you must identify yourself first by your team number and your university name. We don't remember all your team names. And so clearly in countries that have got more than one team, we need your team name is important as well. But all our scoring sheets and everything else, it's your team number, your university name, and then your team name. The next slide, please. Just a few sort of thoughts. This isn't a comprehensive thing, but remember, any configuration is possible. We're not saying what your aircraft has got to look like at all. It's also got to take off and landing on a grass runway. And so think about that and the size of your undercarriage or shape of it. And you're not permitted to use any launch aids this year. So no catapults, no dollies, undercarriages you leave behind. You've got to take your undercarriage with you on your aircraft. We want you to design for a 15-minute mission with 20% of battery capacity remaining. That's a design requirement, but you will not fly for more than 10 minutes at the competition. We'll still be measuring your battery capacity, but we need to reduce the time for flying to 10 minutes so that we can get enough of you flying on each day. The payload, as I've already said, it's a container with water that must be safely loadable at the flight line with the aircraft sitting on the undercarriage. We've also standardized on batteries this year as 6S 6,000 mAh batteries with XT90 anti-spark connectors. You can have as many as you like in parallel or series, but only that one size of battery should be used. And the reason for this is certainly a lot of the teams that are flying into the UK may have problems with bringing in batteries. And indeed, people end up with damage to their batteries, and it just gives the opportunity for you to share batteries between teams. And so we want to standardize on a single size of battery. For safety reasons at Buckminster, there's a 40-knot IAS and 200-foot above ground level limit. Remember also, and those of you who were at Buckminster last year will have felt the wind on one of the days, that you need to be able to operate in a 20-knot gusting to 25-knot wind. And that's, a fairly strong wind. And so make sure your design is capable of that. When you're flying in the UK and doing any testing in the UK, and certainly at Buckminster, you must meet UK's Ofcom regulations, which limits the frequencies that are allowed to be used for airborne use. And there's a link in the rules to where you find these. Similarly, when flying at Buckminster, particularly at Buckminster, you must meet all the requirements of the flight termination system specified in the rules. And if you don't, you won't be allowed to fly. Another thing that has cropped up is we don't want you to buy off-the-shelf carbon fiber components. If you want to use carbon fiber components, you must design them and lay them up yourself. You can't buy in rods, carbon fiber rods and things like that for your aircraft. And don't forget that you need it to fit into a storage container, and it needs to be reassembled without the use of tools. And the next one, please. A very brief point about design reviews. Industry use these design reviews, and I've been through them on that timeline chart, is a way of making sure that when we come to fly the aircraft, it does exactly what we intended it to do. And so it meets all the requirements specified, and it will have the performance that we want it to have. And so there are these stages, these main stages of a preliminary design review, critical design review, and flight readiness review. That's not to say you can't do other reviews along the way if you want to, but they're the three major reviews that we use in industry and we want you to use. But I've been through that in probably enough detail, and there's more about it in the rules. When you've done a design review, we want you, and you set the date for that review, we want you to upload your minutes of your meeting, the report of your meeting, to Machine immediately after the meeting. And you should record in that any design changes that you've made since the last review, address all that's been covered at the review, and we would expect that you will find some actions of things that you look at aren't quite right, and so you should place actions on specified members of your team for undertaking those actions and a date for their completion. And then this report needs to be signed off by both the chairman of the review and the team leader. Right, the next one, please. Very briefly, the scoring. It's all in the rules, but what you'll see is about a quarter of the scoring is on the paperwork side of the challenge, and 3/4 on the flying. And so do look at how the scoring works out. Notice that innovation, for instance, you can increase the score on your mission flights and your manual flying if you're in one of the top innovative teams. And so look at all of these, the way you can do the scoring. And so the performance of your aircraft is much determined by how you design it to meet these scores. The next one, please. Right, just sort of summarizing a bit. Rules, make sure you've read them and it's the latest version. Make sure you deliver what we require and you take advantage of the review processes. In doing design, I'm sure you will be using software tools for aerodynamic structures and things like that. But understand your software tools. Just using them without understanding how they work. You know, there's a phrase, garbage in, garbage out. And so make sure you understand how they work and you feed them with the correct information. As we quite often see, the things you come out are just implausible. And so do pay attention to that. Weight is always a challenge. You know, in industry, we always talk about weight creep. Is however well you try and estimate the final weight of an aircraft, you'll always find it creeps up for all sorts of reasons. And so give yourself some allowance. Do as well as you can in estimating what it will weigh, but give some spare allowance at the end, because you will not be allowed to fly if your takeoff weight, including the payload, is more than 10 kilograms. And think about the center of gravity, because just having it within 10 kilograms is not good enough. The center of gravity has got to be in the right place if it's going to fly successfully. And do think about your landing gear. As I've said, got to take off and land on grass, make sure it's strong enough and appropriately positioned so your aircraft doesn't tip up or whatever. So flight planning, look at how you score and think about the weather. And testing, please allow plenty of time for ground testing and flight testing at the end. You won't have the opportunity when you get to Buckminster for doing it, because you arrive on the Monday afternoon, we'll be scrutineering you, and we'll be flying first thing on the Tuesday morning. So there's no time for messing around there. You've got to have done all of this before you arrive. So, the rules aren't about trying to trick you. We want to see some fascinating, interesting, innovative aircraft, and we want to have some fun, and we want you to have some fun getting there. And finally, you've nearly finished with me. We'll just talk about the awards. The main awards, the Grand Champion, runner-up and third place, oh sorry, the next slide please, Dominic, yes, are made up of all your report scores and your mission scores. But there are a whole load of other individual awards for innovation, design, etc., that you can also win against those specific requirements. Again, they're explained in the rules. Fine, well, I'll now pass on to Christina, if you're here, Christina, for the explain bit.
Yes, I'm here, Lambert.
Excellent, thank you.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christina Panica. I'm the UAS Program Manager, and I'll be talking you through the explain submission. If we go to the next slide. So the explain model, the main objective of the explain model is to demonstrate your design and provide a method of testing the performance of your aircraft. This should be done through the design life cycle of your aircraft. So we expect that the explain will be used to test key characteristics of your design, such as your configuration, the flight handling qualities, and whether it can release a payload or not. Part of this explain is a total of the 80 points available. That has now been 40 points for what we call a flight test report, which I'll take you through in a minute, and an explain model, which will be worth 40 points. When we request the flight test report, what we want to see in that report is a demonstration of how you have used explain to inform your design and to test key characteristics of your design as you go through concept to PDR to CDR. And that will form part of your evidence pack right before you submit your DDS as well. So all of this should work together, and we should be able to see your detail of your design. The flight test report will be limited to 15 pages, and we're looking at the following information. What you're aiming for to test your aircraft, whether you've used it to inform other designs, whether you've tested multiple configurations, position of landing gear, wing, positions, aerofoil data. We want to know what in the end. Yep, as this is limitations identified. So talking about is explain has limitations. It is a piece of software. We want to know what limitations you encountered while using explain and what that meant and how you compensated that within your design. If we go to the next slide, Dominique.
Sorry, can you see it on your end? I've changed it.
Yep. Okay, great. Apologies, my Zoom just cut out there. But right, the next part would be looking for you to submit your explain model. So we want a zip compressed folder containing all the information needed for your explain model. That includes aerofoil data, your actual ACF aircraft file, and any other information that you need to give a pilot if they were going to be operating your aircraft. We will then test your aircraft, and we will also look at the plane maker version of your aircraft as well, to look at key parameters such as configuration, center of gravity, and to understand how that relates to your final design when that's submitted. It is important to check when you're doing this work that when you go to submit that zip folder, we require that you check in a fresh install of X-Plane that that zip file actually opens and contains all the information needed. Because when we load it, it may be different. X-Plane has a habit of remembering information from previous loads of aircraft. There is a free version of X-Plane and Playmaker that is sufficient for this activity. It's X-Plane 11. We will only accept submissions in X-Plane 11, and that is what you need to provide. Any other version of X-Plane will not be accepted, as we will not be able to open it on our systems. Okay, and then if we go to the next slide, Dominique. That slide is incorrect. That slide shouldn't be in there, so we'll bypass that for now. Okay, and I'll hand back over to Dominique, who's going to talk to you regarding mentoring opportunities.
Thank you, Christina. So we have all of our industry partners are able to mentor. So what we'll need you to do, you will get a form that will ask you if you're interested in mentorship and which companies you can select from. So it'll be on an ad hoc basis for a period of 3 to 9 months, and the spaces are limited. So please respond to the file, or please fill your details out in the file when you get it. That way we can allocate you the right person and the right industry contact at the time. You'll also get a code of conduct, and you will also receive rules of engagement as well. If you want to have steering committee mentorship, you can reach out to the UAS Challenge inbox, and we will put you in contact with somebody who'll be able to mentor you. This is, again, first come, first served. And if you email as soon as you can, then we will get someone out to you that they can, mentor you and talk you through what they need to talk you through to within reason. So these are our mentorship companies, all of our sponsors for this year. And shortly they'll talk you through what they have to offer. So keep listening. So next up, we have ANSYS, who will talk you through, again, what they have to offer and how simulation can help you to win. Bridget?
Thank you very much, Dominique. If you can just go to the next slide.
What do the world's most visionary companies have in common? A superpower. To see the future with absolute certainty. The power to design, to test, and to predict the performance of the most complex products in the universe, all before a single physical prototype is ever built. They summon the world's most powerful engineering simulation solution, ANSYS.
Thanks, Dominique. More and more companies across the world are using simulation. And when I'm speaking about simulation here, I know that you're familiar with X-Plane and how you can look at flight simulation. Talk about something slightly different. And Lambert mentioned it earlier, your aerodynamics, your structural analysis. How does the plane work before you actually go ahead and build it? And as I mentioned, more and more engineers are using it because, as we know, simulation allows you to test your design long before you build anything. It reduces the time spent in designing, the time spent making mistakes during manufacturing, and altogether makes a better product and saves you money across the whole space. So the projections are that in the next few years, all engineers would need to have simulation experience across a variety of industries. Next slide, please. And simulation is it's pertinent in this particular space. If you click on the animation, you will see simulation in general is across a number of elements, whether it's the structures, it's the aerodynamics, it's the optics, how lenses and cameras work, how much sound your aircraft would make, connecting all those things together. What's the materials that you need? How do the systems work together? Safety, your model-based system engineering, your flight controls, all of that, the electronics, the electromagnetics, all of that can be simulated before you actually build anything to make sure your design is as robust as possible. Next slide. Now, ANSYS works with thousands of student teams across the world to support them with free software, with resources and support. There's a lot that we love to do with teams. So you can see unmanned aerial systems like this one and other competitions that you may be familiar with. We've been doing this for a few years. We have a lot of resources. There's a QR code there. If you are able to scan that, to see what's available to you right now. Like I said, it's free and we'd love to work with you. We do that with a lot of teams already. And we say, simulate to win with ANSYS. Can you go on to the next slide, please? What do we have available? We have hundreds of courses that are free for you to use. Lambert mentioned something. He said, you're going to use your aerodynamics and your structure analysis tools, but you need to understand them, which completely makes sense because garbage in is definitely garbage out, no matter what the fancy tool is that you're using. So we have courses that are available for you to understand not just the tool, but the physics behind it. So when you are presenting to the judges, you can prove to them that you know what you're talking about. The added benefit of this is this understanding helps you be a better engineer in general, not just for the competition. The added value just keeps going. Next slide, please. So what can you learn? And I put this slide together a few days ago, thinking only about the aerodynamics, like, you know, basic things like flow over your airfoil and looking at your lift and your drag, angle of attack, understanding, you know, the different elements, just some of those things that would immediately spring to mind. But as Lambert was speaking, I was realizing that we have so many other things that would help you. We have tools that can help you understand your best material choice. What is the most sustainable choice for materials? How do you justify that material choice? We have tools to help and can put that into your report. And Lambert talked about carbon fiber design. You have to completely design any carbon fiber elements that you're using. How do you choose the best design? How do you get the best layup and the best drape? We have tools that can help you with that. So there's a lot that we can do, and please feel free to reach out to me after this, and I will share with you a host of things that I bet you didn't know that ANSYS could do. Another thing I want to point out here, Lambert talked a lot about innovation, innovative designs. How do you know what is the best design to take forward into your X-plane simulation? This is where this kind of simulation comes in. What's the best shape for your airfoil? What's the best angle of attack? Do you know if your payload will work under the kind of stresses it will be under? This is where ANSYS simulation really helps. And that workflow is your CAD model, it's into simulation, into the ANSYS simulation, and you take that information into your X-plane, and you take the best ones going forward into your X-plane to save you time in that design loop. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so this is a slide I showed at a competition I was at earlier this year. And what we found was over a few years was that teams that used simulation, aerodynamic structure analysis, and a few others were 5 times more likely to get themselves to the world finals through a regional and national and then a final event. And these are hundreds of thousands of students, thousands of teams competing because they use simulation to minimize their drag, improve their vehicle performance. And I'll tell you what kind of competition this was. Can you just go on to the next animation, Dominique? So this competition is called STEM Racing. It's secondary school students who are using ANSYS, industry standard tools like ANSYS, in particular our aerodynamics tools, to design miniature Formula One cars and race them. So my challenge to you is, if secondary school students can do this, if they're able to use these tools to build their cars and do pretty amazing things, I know that you can do it as well. So the last animation is just the QR code back there again to show you the page to where you can access the resources, you can access the software for free, and to get in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bridget. I'll now hand over to James from FalconWorks.
Okay, thanks, Dominique. Good morning, everybody. So my name is James Ritchie. My role is Head of Technology Engagement within FalconWorks. And that means I have responsibility for our university research activities, our accelerator programs, and our sponsored studentships that we deliver mostly through the UK strategic partner universities. So FalconWorks is really proud to be sponsoring this event for the second year. FalconWorks is a relatively new organisation within BAE Systems. So FalconWorks has been established really as the heart of the advanced research and technology development activities within the air sector on behalf of BAE Systems. And the reason we're doing this is clearly we're in a changing landscape. Whilst BAE Systems has got 100+ years heritage in sort of fast jet aircraft, combat aircraft, there's a change in a growing landscape around autonomy and new technology enablers that can help with future challenges. So FalconWorks, we look at scanning that horizon, identifying new capabilities, looking how we can accelerate possibilities that enable our customers to achieve and maintain competitive advantage. And a catchphrase that we have is that we're not looking at what's next. FalconWorks is about what's after next. Okay, so if I talk about some of the products that FalconWorks is involved with, so the sort of BAE Systems heritage through 100 years of military aircraft design, manufacture, lead systems integrator, flows through into our autonomous collaborative platforms that we're developing. So we're developing these predominantly in the northwest of the UK. That's our Warton and Salisbury sites, but in partnerships with hundreds of companies across the UK and wider. And you may have seen some strategic partnerships that have just been announced with Lockheed Martin Skunk Works in the US and with Turkish Aerospace, obviously within Turkey. So autonomous collaborative platforms to suit more complex mission requirements and future force mass requirements. If we continue to look at further platforms, FalconWorks is actually a collection of a number of entities, and one of our entities is Malloy Aeronautics, who will explain a bit more about their business and their organisation at the end of my session. But essentially we're looking at here all electric products, heavy lift applications that serve not just the air forces but all forces and services across the UK and wider. We then have our prismatic entity, and prismatic is looking at very large scale, so 35-meter wingspan, high altitude, satellite applications, surveillance, reconnaissance type missions, hovering on the edge of space. We'll then go to another one of our entities, which are presenting shortly as well, so Callan Lens. So again, absolutely in the ISR space, reconnaissance and surveillance within a tactical footprint, but fixed wing products predominantly. So Callan will give you a much deeper dive into their product shortly. So collectively, we are FalconWorks. If you look at our locations, we have 2,000+ people, predominantly in the UK, but with locations and activities globally. So in the UK, there's 11 UK sites, including our entities. In the UK, there's 60 strategic partnerships and then sort of 500+ relationships beyond that. So if I just focus on a couple of key locations, so the FalconWorks, the majority of the FalconWorks people sort of sit in the northwest of England, so Lancashire predominantly, with two sites. One site which is Warton. Now Warton is the home of our engineering life cycle, so design, engineering, build, certification, flight testing of new prototypes, new concepts, but also support solutions as well. So very much in the synthetic environment space as well, which is what the graphic indicates here. Also at Wharton, we have a number of facilities specific to Fulcrum Works. Our Factory of the Future is about looking at how do we establish next generation assembly capabilities that are intelligent, are scalable, are reconfigurable, bring together human-robot collaboration, but at the heart of them, complete end-to-end, single source of truth, single tool set, digital engineering that brings in many of the points that were mentioned earlier by Bridget. Lancashire still, so Samlesbury, Fulcrum Works has development facilities there which are focused around additive manufacturing. So we have a centre of excellence for the group at that location. And then if I jump down south, one that I haven't mentioned yet, so Bedford is another one of our entities, which is ARA, so Aircraft Research Association. So an independent organisation so far as that they support any customer, government activity around really deep aerodynamic research, wind tunnel capabilities, modeling and simulation capabilities. So that's part of the family. Clearly, there's a lot more locations, but I'll let the entities talk about their own locations shortly. So in terms of the IMechE challenge then, so this is the second year that we've supported from Fulcrum Works. Collectively across ourselves and the entities, we are looking to mentor 6 teams. And our mentorship would be in the forms of face-to-face workshops, number of Teams calls, other engagements, including industrial visits. And really that would be a mix of experienced team members, but also early careers team members who may have previously worked on the IMechE challenge as a student and have got first-hand experience in the whole process. Really focused on the engineering life cycle. Again, back to previous conversation, simulation, modeling, structured data, model-based systems engineering. We are all about that, and so we're looking to where relevant to this program, we can share some of the knowledge from our subject matter experts, and just provide that access and awareness to those team members, and help and contribute where we can, just to some of the thinking. Okay. We're also providing judging, so a number of the team members will be formally supporting the live fly-off, but also supporting the engineering life cycle documentation review through the journey. So again, we will be supporting that firmly. And finally, just to mention, so I've already explained Fulcrum Works is within BAE Systems, so the career opportunities within Fulcrum Works are managed at our corporate level, so that is through the BAE Systems early careers schemes, and there's a number of options there. That QR code will take you straight to the graduate recruitment page. But as well as the graduate schemes, there are internships, and they range from 12-week summer placements, 12-month industrial placements. We do have a couple of 6-month industrial placements in Scotland as a sort of more targeted scheme. But yeah, all the information's there on those web pages. Okay, so that's it from me, just to give you a really quick fly through of Fulcrum Works. I'll hand over now to the Malloy Aeronautics team to just go a bit deeper on their products and capabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, James. It's Louisa Davis, who leads the HR team at Malloy Aeronautics, and I'm here with Nick Wilson, our Chief Engineer, and Nick is going to talk through a little bit more about what Malloy Aeronautics does and about our products.
Thanks, Louisa, and thanks, James, as well. So if we jump over to the next slide, I'll give a little bit of a brief introduction on Malloy as a company. So as James mentioned, we are now owned by Fulcrum Works, part of BAE Systems. That was an acquisition that went through early last year. But back in the sort of inception of the company, you can see there we had our founder, Chris Malloy, aboard a hover bike, which he made back in 2009. And this is essentially a BMW motorcycle engine, which he strapped 2 propellers to, built a carbon fiber frame around, and had to go flying it about. And this was going quite well. He managed to accidentally get some funding for the business, sort of idea off the back of this and created Malloy Aeronautics. It was shortly after sort of the equivalent flight trial in this photo here that unfortunately there was a small rollover incident with the hover bike, and he did actually unfortunately break his ankle. And it was very shortly after this decision that he decided actually unmanned might be the way to go, certainly initially while developing some of these vehicles. So he identified a sort of problem solution within the military logistics space. You can see here, like traditionally, logistics was carried out by things like Humvees, going over sort of difficult terrain. It could be slow, it could be challenging. What's a better solution to this? It's obviously get the equipment up into the air and just carry it over the difficult terrain. And that's really where Malloy has found its sort of product niche and where we found success. So nowadays, we make a variety of heavy lift electric aircraft. We've sold, it's actually over 600 of those now. That's slightly outdated, that number on the slide. And that goes mainly into military customers. We've got UK Mod and US DoD as two large customers for us there. And we are also now branching over into commercial markets as well. So things like, for example, lifting equipment to the top of wind turbines. Essentially anything that you can imagine getting heavy stuff into the air being useful for, that's where we're targeting this product. So we design and manufacture these in the UK. So we're based just outside of London, just sort of West London area. And we're now at sort of 130 personnel and growing. So if we jump over to the next slide, we've got some good example use cases of where our sort of products are really finding success. So it's a really sort of broad use case, as you might imagine, for a product like this. So obviously we've got logistics, but it's much more than that. So things like maritime rescue. So this was an interesting project where we had vision systems landing autonomously on the back of a boat, dealing with swell and movement of the ship. We've got UXV teaming, so that top picture there, that was actually a underwater autonomous vehicle being deployed from a T-150, and all sorts of other use cases across the portfolio there. So what this enables Malloy to have is actually a really good sort of breadth of knowledge when it comes to autonomous system design, and that's really what we can offer into the challenges here and the different teams is that breadth of knowledge and understanding across different UXS technology, how that can be applied and how that can be used in different use cases, and the challenges around that. That's really where we'll be looking to focus our support into the team. And if you want sort of the general advice there on how you might approach some of these challenges, that's where it's really worth reaching out to us here at Malloy, and we'll be able to offer support and guidance around that. So if we jump over to the next slide, I'll hand back over to Louisa, who's just got a bit of information around how the company has grown over these years.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Nick mentioned there a little bit about the journey that Malloy has gone through over the past 10 or so years, and we're currently going through a really exciting growth trajectory. So as Nick mentioned, we're currently around 130 plus employees, but just 3 years ago we had 30. So we're growing our team and we're maturing and transforming our ways of working to support scaling and future-proofing for the long term. And as we mature, we're also making sure that we maintain our innovative and agile heritage to stay at the forefront of the market and keeping in mind our customers always as we look to provide the best solutions for them. So we have really talented, skilled team members in-house, and we're doing a lot here locally. So we're looking forward to mentoring you and partnering with you as you go through this project building your X-planes. And I think that's all from us, and we'll hand over to Callan Lenz.
Lovely. Thank you, Louisa. Hi, everybody. I'm Sam. I work for Callan Lenz. So I am the talent manager there. So I look after all things recruitment related, but I am particularly passionate about this particular event, this challenge. This is personally my 3rd year being involved in the challenge and really taking a lead from Callan Lenz perspective. So really pleased to be here once again and be heavily involved. Callan Lenz themselves have been involved for a number of years now, so hopefully any of you guys that are on your kind of 2nd year being involved have said hello and met us as a group before. Thank you, Dominique. If we can just move on to the next slide. Conscious that James and Louise have done an excellent job of talking about capabilities in their own organisations. So I guess for me, the focus of this little introduction into us is just to give you a bit more context in who Callen Lens is. We're often a little bit of an unknown in the industry. There's not an awful lot of information out there in the public domain about who we are and what we do. So I always like to give a bit of context for you there. We have grown an awful lot, very much like Louise has just explained with Malloy. We have been on quite a similar journey. If you want to click through these, Dominique, that would just give a little bit of context. So we've been around since 2007, so we are a well-established business, but really the growth that I'm alluding to here, that's been within the last 5 or 6 years at the company. So we've gone from being a tiny startup scale back in 2020. There was about 50 people that worked for Callen Lens, and there's now just over 250 of us. We're creeping very quickly towards that 300 mark, and certainly will be there next year. So it's been a significantly transformation period, I would say, for who we are as a business. So I know James has covered some of the capabilities, but just to reiterate, you'll see a couple of our platforms on our website. We do an awful lot more of very, very exciting project work. A lot of that would be on the defence side of our organisation. So we are split. We do civil and defence applications. So there's an awful lot of very exciting platforms that we can't necessarily show you on this platform, but certainly really, really interesting work. And a lot of our engineers that have experience on those slightly more unique platforms will be able to bring some of that guidance and experience into the mentorship with you guys. So you can see a few stats on there. In terms of our locations that I've referenced, we've expanded that over the last few years. We're primarily based just outside of Salisbury. We have a couple of sites there. And I guess in terms of this context and talking about this mentorship, I think the brilliant thing with Callen Lens is we do the whole life cycle on one site. So where we are still that small scale, you can absolutely have the opportunity as a team that we're mentoring to come and visit our site and see everything that is happening. So all of our design engineers, our systems engineers, the software team, we also have manufacturing capabilities on site, and we're really lucky to have a flying site as well just behind our main office, where our team of pilots are doing that testing. So it is a very hands-on technical hub and still a fairly small scale. So certainly what we really want to do is give you guys some exposure to that real life application of actually very similar to what you guys do in this competition is absolutely what we're doing in the everyday. And I think that's why we're particularly passionate about our continued involvement. We have consistently seen such brilliant ideas from your university teams over the last few years that actually feel very similar to what we would be doing in the everyday. If you can just click on one more, Dominique, I think that will just finish this slide off. So yeah, just to talk about our being part of Falcon Works and BAE Systems then. So we joined the Falcon Works group at the beginning of last year. That was a really excellent step in our journey, something we were really excited to do. We'd reached the point of expanding, and we knew we wanted to set ourselves up for success for the future. So Falcon Works for us is absolutely the right place to be, to really give us that boost into the future and give us that continued support from a long-term perspective. If we can carry on to the next slide, Dominique. Perfect. So just going to pop up a little bit of information. You can click through these, Dominique. It will come up with a few little pieces here. So just to talk through the different streams of the business at Callen Lens. So we've always been really proud to be quite diverse in terms of the solutions that we can create for our customers. That really is something that we're really keen to continue to do in the future, even as we expand. So we can be coming up with solutions in terms of platforms, products. There's just a couple more on there, Dominique, just to click through. So operational services is another big one for us, and technical services. So that could be things like advice consultancy work. So we're fairly diverse in terms of our solutions, but I guess the important point for you guys to know is our niche in the industry. So why we've become known, that is all around pace. So for us, that fast pace, busy delivery is what we're really, really known for here at Callen Lens. And I guess that's our point of difference compared to some others across the multi industry. So again, I think that's why we feel this competition feels really, really genuinely relatable to some of the problems that we have coming our way. We can have a customer requirement and have to turn that around in absolutely record time, often weeks and months rather than years. So yes, just to talk a little bit about why to choose us then. I've alluded to a few of these points anyway, but as mentioned, we've had multiple years involved in the challenge now, not to completely brag, but we did have a winning team that we mentored last year. So obviously I had to shoehorn that in. So really proud to have supported Team Bath Drones last year, which is really, really excellent. But really, as I said, the support that all of the mentors give the teams is really brilliant and really drives them forward to success. So we're really excited to be part of that again. This year we're looking to mentor 2 teams rather than 1. Just to mention, I don't think I've popped that on the slide, but that kind of echoes James's point. Across Falcon Works, we're looking to have 6. Ideally for us, we're looking to mentor 2 teams this year. As we've grown in size, we have got so many excellent engineers that are absolutely chomping at the bit to get involved and support you guys. So yeah, we have a really good diverse team. Even though there are only 250 of us, we have a really wide range of professional backgrounds, so you'll definitely get a lot of really varied experience to support you. As already alluded to, we have our own flying site, so again, really happy to discuss whether there would be a need or a use for that, but certainly a visit to our site and a really good tour and actual face-to-face time with the team, we would absolutely want to do that as part of the opportunity. And then those pre-planned kind of virtual feedback sessions, advice sessions, we would work with you to what works best for you, but we want to make sure we keep really deeply connected, and just a connection to the people team that I'm part of throughout the process to, you know, talk about those future opportunities in terms of careers, placements, etc. Absolutely, I'll be on hand at all points throughout the process. Lovely, thank you. And yes, just to reiterate, that's lead on. So we do a year in industry placement. So that's a 12-month rotational process that goes through the business. So you get exposure to 3 areas of Callan Lens. And we also are always looking for brilliant, talented graduates. And we have hired into both of those opportunities directly from this particular competition. So we know that we will find and see really, really talented individuals like all of you on the call today. So excited to have those conversations. Perfect. I think that might have been everything. Yes, I'm conscious of time, so any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. I can always answer. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sam. Now it's time for our Q&A session. I know Lambert has been working tirelessly in the back end to field all the questions. Lambert, are you ready to come back on screen? And I will field you the questions that are still opened in the Q&A section. Christina, are you also available to answer questions?
Yes, I've been trying to answer as many as possible. There are a lot.
There are a lot of questions. So we have about 85 questions. So apologies if your question wasn't able to be addressed. We will try and get through them as much as possible. Okay, so the first question I have here from an anonymous attendee, from Charis. It says, can you send us the slides after the presentation? Yes, all of this recording will be sent to the registrants. Parsa Izadi, with a 15-minute flight time expectation and 20% battery level minimum remaining, is this assuming a constant full tank of payload, or as the mission is carried out with multiple drops, resulting in a lower weight as the mission goes on?
Well, it's for a mission, so yes, as you release payload, the aircraft will get lighter. So you should be designing it with the intention of being able to do a 15-minute mission, but so that we can get you all the chance to fly, we're actually only having 10-minute missions as a maximum this year.
Perfect, thank you, Lambert. Next question from an anonymous attendee. How will the water release be monitored or assessed?
Judges will be watching it, and that's how we will do it. It will be by observation by judges.
Thank you. When will scrutineering happen in that case? On a separate day, or will that happen on the same day as the first flight mission?
I can answer this one, Lambert. So scrutineering will take place from Monday afternoon. I've answered one of the questions regarding how will we get all the flying done over 3 days. that's the reason. So scrutineering will happen from Monday afternoon for flights first thing on Tuesday morning of the competition, which is different to how we've done things in the past. But we are expecting to do majority of the first set of scrutineering Monday afternoon.
Thank you, Christina. What counts as water leakages during the mission, and will this be penalized when passing through waypoints if not a substantial or visual amount, not during the payload waypoints? Was that clear? Do you want me to read it again?
Well, I'm not quite sure what the question is about, really, but I mean, we will be monitoring how much you've released where we've asked you to release it. If we see it being released elsewhere, then you will not get the full points for the water that you've released.
Thank you, Lambert. The recording will be released later. This is for Johnny. She asked, or they asked when the meeting will be recorded and when it will be sent. It will be sent today, sometime about 2 hours or so after this meeting. Lawrence says, could you please provide clarity on the percentage of water that must be dropped per release run on the long mission?
Well, read the rules. The rules show the scoring, and you need to work out for yourself what you want to drop. You know, it's the balance. If you look at the scoring, you can work out what weight of water you have to carry to get the maximum score. You need to balance that against the design of your aircraft, about its aerodynamic efficiency and all the other things. So you need to work that out. We can't tell you what to do.
Thank you, Lambert. Next question. Our team is planning on constructing an autonomous antenna tracker. As this is not our UAV or our actual GCS and purely for telemetry, will this still need to go into our transportation box?
Yes.
Short and sweet.
Because it's part of the UAS. I mean, what we're trying to get you to do with the transport box is this is a real mission. You're going with your box to a place to do the task, and therefore everything you need for that task needs to be in the box.
Perfect. Thank you, Lambert. Will the equations and metrics for scoring of the score-based competition be given before the competition, as with many other university competitions?
Well, it's all in the rules. So read the rules.
Perfect, thank you. Next question. Could you please explain again the rules about how the payload is to be loaded onto the aircraft? Am I right in saying the water cannot be loaded inside the aircraft?
That's correct. You have to take the water in its container to the aircraft on the flight line. And so the container can't be in the aircraft and you pour water into it. You have to, it's the container and the water is taken to the aircraft.
Thank you, Lambert. Someone else asks, an anonymous attendee asks if they can fill out team reserves on to the data sheet that is sent out to all teams. You may, but please resend the final updated list of 8 people before the live event. Next question. Are we scored on the quantity of water the aircraft carries or based on the quantity of water dropped?
Well, it's the quantity of water dropped that you'll score. Again, look at the rules.
Yeah, so I have tried to answer this one in more detail, but your scoring of your waypoints is the amount of water that you take off with in terms of a payload times the waypoints, and then you need to deliver that amount of payload. So if you land with half of the payload, you will not get the full points for that. You should be intending to take off with the amount of payload you intend to drop. Obviously, if that doesn't happen and there is a failure, that is a different circumstance. But the intention is for you to release the payload that you take off with over 2 separate releases.
Thank you, Christina. And Lambert, another one in relation to the water. Does the rate at which the water is dispensed not matter as long as the judges can clearly visually tell that water is being dispensed?
That is correct.
Yes.
Perfect.
I'll just, Dominique, expand on that because we've got so many questions over that. We haven't mandated anything other than the fact of you need to release a water payload 2 times over a required distance. Any method of which you want to do, spray, nozzles, and the method you want to do that, it is up to the teams to determine. We want to see as many different ideas as possible, innovative ideas to release an amount of water set by the teams that their aircraft can carry over that distance. We have left it purposely open so we can see all the ideas that I'm sure the teams will have, all those great ideas.
Thank you, Christina. There's a question here. How many, if any, spectators from each team are allowed? This is a private event. This is not open to the public. If anything, it would be just an academic lead that would be potentially allowed to enter or to have access to the event, but you must communicate that to the UAS challenge inbox, and we will judge it on a case-by-case basis. Next question. For the loading requirement, does the top loading also assume the UAV is currently under operation, i.e. prop clearance considerations?
Yes.
I love how short and sweet these answers are, Lambert. Next question. When loading the external payload into the drone, does this have to be the last item? For example, can wings be inserted after the payload has been loaded?
I think the answer to that is no, because you would be required to be re-scrutineered because you've done an assembly after the payload has been added.
Thank you, Lambert. Next question. Slides mention that no COTS carbon fiber components are permitted. Does it include the carbon fiber rods for structural integrity of the wing?
Yes, this is very clearly stated in the rules. Now, I know this is a controversial thing, and half the questions are about these COTS carbon rods and things. The whole idea of this challenge is for you to learn about designing and making a UAS, and therefore buying off-the-shelf components of this sort, you're not learning much from it because you're not having to worry about structural design or the likes. And so we want you to make your structures yourself. You don't just have carbon fiber rods are not the only form of structure. They've only relatively recently become available. There are plenty of other ways to create structures in aircraft. And so it might be controversial, but that is the rules for this year.
Thank you, Lambert. I'm going to give this another 10 more minutes, and I'm going to now exclude any further questions about carbon fiber. Next question is about the usage of connectors. For example, we are using multiple 6S LiPo batteries with XT60 connectors and connecting them through a Y cable that merges into an XT90 anti-spark connector as required. Will this configuration be acceptable under rule T3.1.1 as a final connection to the aircraft is XT90? Because the standard connector for 600, I think that's, I'm sorry, milliamps or something, I'm sorry, 6X battery is XT60. I need to say for one battery. That is a very comprehensive question.
If I understand the question right, if the disconnection of the batteries from the aircraft systems, the motors, etc., is by an XT90 anti-spark connector, that is fine. And so, I mean, why we specify that is, and particularly last year, there were plenty of instances of people disconnecting and creating, large sparks in doing so. And so if your disconnection between your system and the battery setup is by XT90, that should be all right because your individual batteries are effectively buried inside, which is the two XT60 ones. So yeah, the answer to that is yes, that will be acceptable.
Thank you, Lambert. Another question here. Which deliverables are needed to enable fly-off attendance? Is it just the F701 or are others needed?
Well, you must deliver the F701 form because that describes all that you have necessary insurance and you have the CAA operator authority, etc. So yeah, that's the principal thing that you need to deliver before attendance at the event.
Thank you, Lambert. There's a question here about not being able to access the 6S 6000 batteries in their country. And they emailed to the judges' inbox and they said they could use the 6200 batteries because the battery selection changes the UAS's design and performance a lot. So is that,
Yeah,
will that be permissible?
I answered what I tried to explain to the team is that clearly we don't want you not to enter because you cannot access them in your country. I mean, you can do all your flight testing and everything else with a slightly different battery if necessary, and then either purchase one in the UK when you get here, or borrow one from another team if you can find another team that's prepared to lend you one of the correct size. And so one doesn't want to discourage you from entering the competition, but we do need you to have done all your flight testing before you come to the UK and either acquire the right type of battery in the UK or arrange with another team. And as far as I recall, the team that asked the question, there are other teams within your country, and maybe getting together might be worthwhile and seeing if they have been able to get the right type of battery.
Thank you, Lambert. This question is about mentorship. It says, if we ask for mentorship, does that mean a specific mentor is assigned to the team? And if you ask for mentorship, if it is within the industry partner's capabilities, so if they have a set number of teams that they're already mentoring, you may not get the mentor that you would prefer. You will be given a first, second, and possibly third option to choose from. This question is about campsite limits. Are only the 8 team members plus supervisor allowed to use a campsite? Yes. There is no additional persons that are allowed on the campsite because it's a closed event and there are no spectators allowed. There's a question here about visa. Please check the UAS website and you will find what you need for your visa. Do you have a design concept example for the cover page of the concept paper, and do we have to add an index part?
Well, no, the rules say what we want to see in the concept paper. Oh, sorry, the cover page. Well, it's a simple, I mean, it's your design of what the cover page, but you must include all the information that we've asked to have on it. And no, you don't have to add an index.
Thank you very much, Lambert. Next question here is there a penalty or lesser scoring if we use a different design in our UAV than the one we put forward in the concept paper?
Well, we want you to take the concept paper seriously. And so, I mean, one does expect, and the whole idea of a concept paper is to come up with a concept. When you go into detailed design, you may find that your initial concept has some issues with it. And so, yes, it is acceptable to change your design as you go forward. But I mean, we would urge you, as I said, you know, the whole thing about designing something is the more you get right up front, the more likely it's going to be successful in the end. And so put some serious effort into your concept paper and at the very first stages of design. But no, you won't get penalized if you find that you have to make some changes during your design because you had underestimated something in your concept.
Thank you, Lambert. So we've just got about 4 minutes remaining. Any questions that are not answered today, please send them through to either UAS judges or the UAS challenge inbox, and we'll get them answered to you as much as we can. There's a question here about the X-Plane software. It says, will the link be sent, so the free version be sent to teams? It says they can only find a demo for version 12 as free.
Dominique will find a link and send it for distribution. I can't access at the moment because I'm on my mobile,
That's fine.
And I'll try and do that, but we'll do that after this meeting.
Thank you so much. Next question. The rule book states a person loading the payload should be outside of the swept arc of the propeller. However, it is tough with a multi-role.
Hello, we've just lost you, Dominic. Well, in answer to the question is you can think about ways of doing it. It should be possible if you think innovatively and imaginatively. It should be possible to do that.
Thank you, Lambert. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back
Brilliant.
again.
Thank you. It's unclear as to whether we are allowed to fully power off / disarm the aircraft while loading, and as to whether the propellers can be removed for safety compliance.
No, it will be fully powered off while you're loading your payload.
Perfect. And last one for today. As a follow-up, when you say design the component and program the 3D printer yourself, you mean the slicing for that part? Is that correct?
I don't know what that means.
So I think there was a question possibly answered already about
Oh yeah,
design
no, I did
components in
answer the
3D.
question and
Okay.
said
Yeah,
so recorded.
I think, Lambert, I can answer this. When you're designing parts, if you design them yourselves and then 3D print them yourselves, e.g. set up the model, put in any of your slicing, that is your own design component. You're using a manufacturing method, that is perfectly fine. It is a design component and manufactured by yourself. Whether you're using a 3D printer as the manufacturing method, that is fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Christina. And thank you, Lambert, for your time. So I'm going to leave it there for the questions. There are a lot of questions here about carbon fiber, water release. So please refer back to what the judges have said about either of those things. Any other questions, please send through to the UAS Challenge inbox or send it through to the UAS judges, and we'll endeavor to get them answered as soon as possible. Lambert, thank you so much for today. I'm going to turn my camera back on. Thank you very much for today, and Christina as well, and all of our judges and sponsors that are online. Thank you very much for attending. There have been a lot of questions. This was very informative, and I really appreciate the effort that was put in today. So thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you, everyone.